Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round number 2 of Monday Night Skippys here from Canadian-Tire Motorsports Park. Myself, Rachel Wyford, and Linus Brostrom joining you tonight with the one, the only venerable Will Vincent behind the cameras as always. And well, have we got a race for you guys tonight? Last week was phenomenal at Okayama, Linus. Motorsport never fails to disappoint us with an amazing race.
Yeah, we had a great race last week, and today is hopefully going to be even better. And it's a very fast and twisted track, but a couple of unforgiving corners and a long straightaway, so we're going to see a bit of everything today, I think. And usually we have quite good racing here, so I'm expecting to see a lot of the same today.
Certainly are, of course. Don't forget, if you check our description, you'll see information regarding CALM, which is the Campaign Against Living Miserably. They're an award-winning charity dedicated to preventing male suicide, which is the single biggest killer of men under the age of 45 in the UK. Check them out, they're an amazing charity. We love to support them, and they do great work. Also, if you like the angles of the cameras you see in today's race, check out Esteban Ballo's Track Pack for Gourmets. It's amazing stuff. He makes all of our cameras, and they are wonderful. Check him out. But today, looking at our qualifying orders, looking similar to last time, Linus. Antonides on top, Fraser in second, Jack Hobbs up in third place. We've got Daniel, Sharp, Edwards, Roberts, Williams, Turner, and Cook inside your top 10. Some of the big boys are just outside the line, and it's definitely coming down to the wire now with about 4 minutes remaining.
Yeah, it's the same usual suspects at the top, and I don't know, they're usually up there. It's a bigger difference today than we usually see, but with a long qualifying you don't get the draft, and you have 4 laps I think it is to put in a good lap, so it's still far from over here. We can still see a lot of changes at the top, but I think Antonides and Fraser are going to stay up there, so just have to wait and see.
Yes, they absolutely should, and it's likely they will, of course. 2 of our fastest cars last race and 2 this season, of course. Bill Fraser, can he go 3 for 3? His first championship was only 2 seasons ago, and he took that one by storm after so many seasons of trying. He defended it successfully last season after it looked mid-season, and it's like it wasn't going to be possible, but he came back with a really resilient charge. Can Bill do 3?
It's going to be tough for him this year. I think it depends on how many races Fahim and Edwards and all those guys can come to. I think they all missed a few races last season, which kind of helped Bill Fraser, but he had a really good ending to last season with I think 5 wins in total, or 6 or whatever it was. So if he can get that this year, he's definitely going to be up on top, but Fahim is going to be, if Fahim can come to all the races, I think he's going to put up a massive challenge. So it's going to go all the way down to the wire this year.
Certainly is. It could be a very interesting season for us, and the times coming in, drivers setting those times, of course. This is solo qualifying. We showed you the race conditions a moment ago. Conditions today, 78 degrees Fahrenheit on the track. Or the air, sorry. Track conditions 85, so late afternoon conditions. This is pretty standard. South, 2 miles an hour winds. Humidity's high, it's about 85%, but these are fairly average conditions, Linus, as far as they go. In fact, I'd be so bold as to say it's actually hotter right now here in the RaceSpotTV studio than it is at Mosport.
Yeah, it's very, very standard basic settings for this sort of racing, and it's going to make for an interesting race. It's not so hot, so it's not going to be very slippery, and actually I think it's going to be quite a lot of grip, so hopefully some good racing. And it's usually warmer when these cars are on the track, but hopefully that's going to make for the better.
Certainly as well, if the air temperature is not too high, the action on track certainly will be hot as the race kicks off today. These guys never let us down, and when they have a very, very good track condition that allows them to race hard, they're going to do just that and give us some phenomenal racing action. With the solo qualifying in, I think a lot of our positions up at the front are not going to be changing. We'll have a quick look at our 1 second bracket today. So it's a 31.326 from Fahim Antonides, your pole sitter today. A 32.3 takes us all the way down to about 21st place here. So that's a huge bracket for our top 1 second bracket there, Linus. Of course, we have about 48 cars in today's race, so it's going to be a big field, and with lots of grip, a lot of guys on similar pace, this is going to be a very big race.
Yeah, it's a massive grid here today. It's 48 cars, 44 of them set a time, so we'll see how many actually grid up. But it's going to be a massive field, and it's a pretty big track, so I expect towards the end of this race the leaders are going to come into quite a lot of traffic, so that could shake things up as well. Gonna have to look out for that all day long.
Yep, they absolutely are. As we head to the grid now to get ourselves started for today's race, I will say, Linus, yours and my own personal experience of this place is normally in stock cars, but Skippys, they have amazing racing here.
They do. Stock cars tend to be a bit sideways and off the track more than on it, and using a bit of the bumpers, but today I don't think we're going to see a lot of bumping, just a lot of drafting and maybe some wheel-to-wheel action, but it's going to be a good race either way.
Well, we're going to go to our running order real quick. We're just showing you up on the screen. And tonight is on pole with Bill Fraser in second place, Ben Daniels in third, Jack Hobbs, Keith Sharp, Simon Edwards, Nicholas Vaughan Roberts, Clark Williams there with Christopher Grant in ninth, Mark Turner in 10th place, Daniel Cook, Ewan Patterson, Stephen Nerbes, Matt Cox, 15th place, Tim Adcock, Anthony Catt in 16th place at the moment, Sarah Savage. As I've just lost all few. Briefly, Linus, can you hand over?
Where were we? P17, Sarah Savage, James McRitchie in 18th, Seymour Harding in 19th, Christopher Kelsey in 20th, and the rest of the results or standings rather should be up on your screen.
The absolute yarn. Linus, well, you're going to take us to the green flag this time tonight as the first one for you here, because I can't see this right now, so I'll be in as soon as I can.
Okay.
But Linus, take it away.
Yeah, we'll have to do our best. Well, cars are gridding up, still waiting for the last couple of cars to come on the track. They've got a couple of seconds, as we can see. The field is going all the way back to the second to last corner here with how many cars we got on track, so gonna be interesting as we hear the engines rev. Lights are on and the green lights are going, so clean start so far. Looks like they're all gonna be pretty single file up at the front, and Antonides is easily gonna take the lead going into one with Bill Fraser and Ben Daniels just behind him. Actually, they're going to get a little bit of a gap, but he's going to move up to the inside here, Fraser, and he's going to try and take the lead coming down the hill into turn 2, and he's actually going to clear him before the entry, so nice move there by Bill Fraser to take the lead, and Antonides will have to watch out now because Daniels is right on his rear wing trying to get that position, but he's going to hold it for now, and from what I can see, that's a fairly clean start. A couple of cars off in the grass behind him, but no major crashes and everyone is still going, so as usual a very, very good start around here.
Certainly is. Looking great at the front of the field there, actually, Linus, as these guys come through the middle of the lap now, heading up towards the run up the Andretti straightaway there. See the front of your field up on the camera as they come through now. On board with Daniels at the moment, looking great up there. Daniels has a big run here. That's the third place car, pulls to the outside. Has a look, no, decides to dodge back to the inside line.
We got a car coming up on him instead.
And up in front of him, look at this, Fraser goes for it too, and it's a 2x2 into turn 8.
Antonides is actually going to pull it around Fraser, as well as Jack Hobbs is going to pull it around Daniels, and he's going to try and make a move on Fraser as well for second place. Fraser goes defensively. Hobbs around the outside, and they're going to be side by side down the home straight away, and look at Antonides just pulling away already. Almost got a second as they go almost 3 wide into turn 1 behind him. And that's a huge move from, I think that's Keith Sharp, who's got a car up his inside again, but he managed just to clear it, and there's slight contact back and forth between them all here, but they're all getting through it cleanly, so massive action at the end of the first lap here, but they all spread out once again.
Yeah, they certainly have, and this racing is definitely picking up in intensity already. Monday Night Skippys early on, and this goes exactly like it always does. And tonight is Fraser, Hobbs, Daniels at the moment, running 1, 2, 3, 4. The action's certainly not slowing down. The amount of grip on track cleanness is clearly showing to be absolutely huge.
Yeah, it's they were able to go 2x2 through that turn at the end of the long straight, and we don't normally see that in these cars around here because it's usually a lot warmer, but the cold temperatures is made for some really good racing being able to happen down here as we see them coming down the straightaway once again. Fahim has got a massive gap, and Hobbs is gonna make a move on Fraser here to try and get into second place again. Fraser goes defensively, Daniels is right behind him, he's gonna look to make it 3 wide, but he's not gonna fit, is he? Oh, he has to check up a little bit there. Looking up the inside again, but Fraser is going to hold that position, and now Daniels is on the inside of Hobbs, who's going to pull clear of him on the outside once again.
Yeah, it certainly is. And look at the action up here. Daniels looking left and right there for a move on Bill Fraser. And the front just can't quite find an opportunity here. Sitting back there in 4th place. It's not Williams he's trying to make the move on, actually. It's the car ahead of him. I believe that one is to be Hobbs, actually up in 3rd place. Doing what he can to try and find a line through, but not going to have the opportunity he wanted at this point. Up front, Antonides showing those long legs he's been showing in a lot of races, Linus. The power behind that car. Antonides manages to get it on pole, manages to run clean and long, and getting a good run with this car.
Yeah, with the battle that we had for Pete number 2, he pulled away very fast, and this time by the start-finish line he had 1.3 seconds already after 2 laps, and that's going to be massive for him. If Jack Hobbs can just catch up to Bill Fraser one more time here, I think Fahim is going to set off into the distance and get the win already here. But at the moment we have about 10 cars in a pack racing for 2nd, 3rd place. And then behind them there's just a massive train of about another 20 cars. So still a lot of action going on here, and hard to know where to look at this point of the race.
Absolutely, but these guys always manage to find some incredible racing here on the track. And defensive line there by Bill Fraser as they come in. Looks like Daniels looked against Hobbs but couldn't find a way past. Up into 8, 9, 10 again. This great big section at the end of the race, Linus. Fantastic section of the track. You got the big sweeping high-speed right of turn 8. Then the quick 9 and 10 left-right. And it really throws the drivers around.
Yeah, it does, and it makes for some great overtaking maneuvers as well. If you just enter there 2x2 or 3x3, whoever is going to be able to find the most grip is going to get a huge run coming into the next corner, and we've seen some great passes in the late races as well as the start of this race here. So if they can keep it this tight together, it's going to be a big race towards the end. As we have a car going off, that's Christopher Grant going off into turn number 2, coming down the hill. And when you go off there, there's just nothing to do but head straight for the barrier, and he's going to retire the car from P number 9, I believe that is. Unfortunate ending for him after a pretty good start.
Yeah, certainly is. We'll try and get a replay of that one for you. It's up on your screens now as you see this one here. Grant just a bit of a tap of the wheel there, and this is that thing with turn 2 there, Linus. If you even touch the grass there, it is a one-way trip to the barriers.
Yeah, it's banked the wrong way, so there's nothing that you can really do about it. And Daniel J. Cook just went up the inside, slid out a little bit, and he just made slight contact, and Grant was a passenger from there on out. As we see them going 3 wide again here now for 2nd place. It's contact as well, as Ben Daniels moves it to 2nd place, and that's Jack Hobbs going to be going wide, I think. He's going to rejoin, but he's going to be all the way down in 7th place. And possibly have some suspension damage as well, so that's going to be a massive blow to his hopes for this race.
Very much is Jack Hobbs with some problems there, as you can see. Not what he wanted to have happen at this stage of things, but he's going to try and make the best of it he can. Lost track position there, Linus, of course, but he'll work his way back up. We know he's got speed behind that car, so he's working on getting himself back in there now. But as it stands, it's on board there with Vaughan Roberts back in 8th place, pushing forward as he can. He's had a lot of good speed recently. He's come up from being a mid-top 20 driver, Linus, to pushing into the top 10 now, and that's impressive.
Yeah, he's been improving all the time, and that's what I like seeing in this series. We have a few drivers, they start midfield to back of the pack, and then slowly they'll work their way up there, and then all of a sudden they're a solid top 10 name, and we see him today qualifying in P7 even, sorry. He's currently sitting in P8 there behind Jack Hobbs. And he's just doing whatever he can to gain more positions, and I don't think it'll be too long before we see him at the top step of the podium.
Absolutely not, of course, and it's not to put anything against the drivers who come into this series and jump straight into the top 10, but I mean, the likes of Simon Edwards would be a key example of that. However, seeing drivers progress up the field, move forward, is always super impressive there. Keith Sharp in P5 at the moment. Oh, car runs wide just on the outside of him there. Can't quite identify who that is, but
that's Martin Brandon.
There you go, Martin Brandon running wide. I believe he's being lapped at this point, but stays well out of the way of the traffic and no problems there. Further up towards the front, it's still Antonides leading from Yeah, looking back towards Bill Fraser there. Fraser keeping Antonides honest this time. He's gotten much, much closer. He had dropped back, Linus, but Fraser's had a bit of a charge of performance here, and he's really pulled back up towards the rear of Antonides. Possibly able to mount a challenge soon.
Well, maybe. It depends. He's going to have still, he's got almost 1.7 seconds that he needs to gain on Antonides to do it, but it's come down slightly. All depends on how he can work with Fraser down the straight, or how Fraser and Daniels can work together down the straightaway, using the draft to maybe close up on him, because that will be key for those two if they want to catch Antonides in this race, I believe. And you also have to watch out for Simon Edwards, who's back up there in fourth now behind him, looking to get involved, and Keith Sharp sitting solidly in fifth once again.
It certainly will, of course, and looks like actually Bill Fraser's not quite as close as we thought. Antonides up there in the distance off on his own. Fraser and Daniels now side by side there, as it's going to be Bill Fraser to the outside there, trying to have a look at defending that, but not going to have a chance there as Daniels gets past him on the inside. We'll run up into turn 8, secures that spot. Edwards, as you mentioned, closing in nicely from behind now. Behind them, Keith Sharp, Clark Williams, Jack Hobbs, Nicholas Vaughan Roberts in 8th place. Daniel Cook and Ewan Patterson up from 12th into 10th place at the moment. Movers and shakers so far today: Robert Plumley 26th to 18th. We've got Christopher Kelsey from 20th to 15th as well. Good movement from him. Other drivers making moves in the right direction. Richard Holborn 39th to 27th. That's a big jump for him too.
Look at this back he's in.
Oh, absolutely huge pack of traffic there in the moment, racing down in 28th. Big bunch of cars. Barry West there, the one in between those guys as things get a little tight. Stuart Dick just ahead of them. Barry West behind Richard Holborn. Alan Patterson tail end of this group, along with Ben Summers. As side by side there through two, holding steady there. Patterson, that was, I believe, and also Summers getting involved there. Back to the sharp end. Antonides' gap 1.8 seconds at the moment. Ben Daniels with Fraser second and third. Antonides is checked out completely. Here comes Fraser to make another move on the outside on Daniels. Can he make it work this time? By stays tighter. Might be a better advantage. He gets a bit of an overlap. He'll have to hold it around the outside in 8 if he wants any chance at holding this, Linus. Look at what they're doing though to Edwards. Edwards coming right up to this group here. Will have a good chance. Fraser, you can hold it around the outside on 8. He can, and he will. Fraser has the line, gets the inside for 9, secures second place once again there from Ben Daniels. But this has brought Simon Edwards right up to the back of this group as, oh, Fraser gets on the grass, gets a little bit of a wobble, loses some speed, but manages to maintain his position for now. Should be able to recover from that moment.
He certainly will, and thanks to them going side by side through one corner there, Fahim Antonides opened up his gap by over half a second on that lap, so it's now up to 2.3 seconds. So these 2 or 3 cars are not going to be able to work their way up to him again, as we see Daniels coming up the inside of Fraser, and he's just throwing it in there and making the pass look real easy. Don't really know if Fraser will let him go there or what happened, but he did not put up much of a fight.
We don't normally see passes in turn 3 there, Linus. That's a very unusual place to make it happen, but as they roll through 4 in towards 5A and B, down here at the bottom, Moss corner. Fraser had a bit of a look, but he's pushed wide again. Fraser having some errors here, but the train of cars behind him is really grouped up here, all the way back now to, I believe that's Ewan Patterson, last car in that train. No, it's not. It's Daniel Cook is the last car there in that grouping. The 255 machine. A lot of passing about to happen here as Sharp and a few others pull out to make moves. So does Simon Edwards.
Oh, look at Edwards.
Low to try and find a gap. It's going to go underneath. 3 wide in towards 8. 3 wide with a 2 wide behind it. Formation flying here from the Monday Night Skippys crew as these guys do this the right way. Oh, on the curbs there for Clark Williams. Nearly had a big moment, but he held it together. Good job he was wearing the brown fire suit then, just then, I think. As Edwards loses some speed. Here comes Daniels back at him. Oh, bit of a bumper tap. He said we wouldn't be seeing tapping and bumper hugging here in Skippys, Linus, but looks like Mossport brings out the fun in everybody.
Yeah, it certainly does, and these guys are just giving it their all, and 2 and 3 wide coming into the corner at the same time. That's a bit more than I was expecting this early on in the race, but seeing as the lead has gone away, he pulled away another 9/10 there, so it's now over 3 seconds to Fahim. These guys just they know there's no chance to win, so they're just going to give it their all to finish second and third here. And Fraser's pulled a little bit of a gap as well now, but Edwards holding steady to third place ahead of Daniels, and I believe that's Hobbs right behind him looking to pass him as well, but he's going to go defensive here into the double apex right-hander before the straightaway and see what will happen this time.
Absolutely, I think it's less. Go on, Ines.
Yeah, we have quite a big group here now. It's forming up to be almost 11 cars in a big line, so Fraser, if he's not careful, can go from second down to 12th within no time.
He certainly could, of course. There's a move there by, I believe that is actually, or Simon Edwards is now himself up into the third spot at the moment, and that's now Hobbs and Sharp side by side there. As a defensive move, Fraser has to block there for Edwards going to the outside. Behind them it's Hobbs and Daniels side by side, up through 9, next through 10. I must say, you know, you mentioned that Fraser pulled a gap, but I think it's more that the fighting behind them allowed him to get away than necessarily him being faster at this track, perhaps, as just not managing to hold off now as Edwards pulls up towards him. And this battle now between Daniels and Hobbs, it seems like any fighting at Mosport Linus takes you off the ideal line and absolutely kills your speed. So basically the only way to go fast is to not fight anybody.
Yeah, as soon as you go side by side, you're going to lose a lot of time, and Edwards managed to pull away from Daniels and Hobbs there when they were fighting, but it's still not enough of a gap to stay away when they get to the straightaway. They'll just suck up right to the back of Fraser and Edwards and make this group 11 cars long again. So I think you need to get about 1.5 second gap to be fine going down the straight, but that's going to be really hard to do. And I think it looks to me like Fraser has a little bit of wing damage as well, which is going to slow him down as we see him go really wide over the grass there, and that's going to set it up for Simon Edwards to make a move. It's coming towards the end of this straightaway.
I think this is one of those endemic things with Mosport Linus, is that everybody gets a bit of wing damage off these big curbs here, of course. As we see now Edwards making a move to the outside of Fraser for second place. Up to the outside, the long way round here on the Andretti
He's
straight.
already cleared him as well.
He has. Into 8. He's got a position made. Into second place goes Simon Edwards. I will say that people seem to think the racing line on the Andretti straight is to go out wide and then come back in again, like you would on most curves. However, pro tip, the inside line on the Andretti straight, the whole way along it, is a shallower gradient. So it's actually faster. But as we go back to the action up at the front here, Fraser looking to make a move back on Edwards. Oh, nearly tapped, about to get out of the brakes, out of the gas there, sorry. Get on the brakes as Daniels behind him looks keen to try and take his place. Look to the inside, but won't have the overlap in time to dive into 2. Lap 11 here of 16 tonight. Time is absolutely flying for once in this race, as all the action is centered around second back to 11th place. As well, first place is now 3.8 seconds away. Fima tonight is running away with this one. As long as he has no problems, he'll be in for a great victory here. Hopefully we don't curse him with that one. Bill Fraser, though, trying to defend the best of the rest. But he has to get back past Simon Edwards to have a chance at doing that again. This line of cars, Linus, I must say the performance of these guys is incredible. They are literally bumper to bumper, or nose cone to gearbox here, because they don't have bumpers then, actually, but they're pushing hard as Fraser now goes back to the outside. As I was mentioning, I'm just so impressed by the speed these guys are all carrying. Everyone about a similar pace from second on backwards. Fraser fighting hard now to go for the outside move again. There'll be 2 behind them. Will Daniels look at the middle? No, he doesn't. Fraser gets the speed he wanted. Clears Edwards there. Mid-turn 8. Engine failure on the racetrack. Linus.
I'm trying to figure out who that could be, and I'm not quite sure.
We will get back to you in a moment once we find out who exactly had that engine failure, but somebody's lost their motor. The air conditions aren't too hot, but they're hot enough to cause problems, as we keep our eyes on the scoreboard just to see who's dropping where. But Fraser back
that
ahead
might
now.
have been a car towards the back of the field, actually.
Could well have been. Yeah, I think it might have actually been Tim Adcock that had a problem there. He's just dropped down, actually. But back towards the sharp point. More smoke there. Somebody... Oh, there's smoke ahead of them. This is a car that might still be on the racetrack, actually. I don't think it is. I think they've just gotten themselves clear of the racing surface for now, but A lot of traffic in this top 10 group has moved towards the rear of that one. That's the 44 of Ewan Patterson there making a move on Daniel Cook in the 255. Those two will be side by side up the Andretti Straight. Fraser this time has a bit of advantage. He will hold his position there as the car's ahead of them.
There we have a blown engine right in front of him.
Oh no! Big problems! Oh my gosh! What a disaster there. That was the car of... I'm trying to find out who this actually was on the racetrack. Williams and Hobbs having major problems there as... Oh my gosh.
That was David Monteiro who was blowing up right in front of him.
We'll get back to that one, but it's racing now between some of the other cars in the field is now. Daniels leads second place over Edwards, but we have to get a replay of that one really quickly, Linus, because that was just... Oh my gosh. I don't quite believe my eyes sometimes, but... Fraser thought the car was going faster in the smoke to draft off it to pull himself ahead. Collided with the car in the smoke, had nowhere to go. Gets turned, the car gets turned around, hits two of the cars behind him, including, I believe, one of those was...
Clark Williams was one of them.
Clark Williams and somebody else. Oh my gosh, that was an absolute disaster on the racetrack. Not what you want to have happen from a lap down car who's blown his engine. Guess we found out who that happened to then, didn't we?
Yeah, eventually we did, and I don't really know how we got that far around with a blown engine without just pulling off the track, but that's none of my business right now, really. We still got about 8 cars here battling it out for second place, as Fahim has now got a 5-second lead over them. And Daniels has actually pulled a little bit of a gap to Edwards, but that's going to close in right away as we come into the straight. And Keith Sharp is now up to 4th place.
He is indeed, and we have confirmed Jack Hobbs and Bill Fraser are out of this event after that collision there with David Monteiro on the Andretti Straight. Edwards closing up here to Ben Daniels. Can he try and make a pass back to hold second without two of the bigger threats in that top 5 group they had? This might be all the opportunity he needs now. The gap over next place P4 Keith Sharp is actually growing at the moment. They've got about a second over him now. Should be enough to break the draft to continue.
Keith lost a couple of positions there, and now we got Vaughan Roberts up into 4th place, and Ian Pattison from 12th all the way up to 5th now, having a really good race as well. So quite some new names up here in the top 5, but that's what you get from having disasters like this.
It certainly is, and I've noticed one thing in this race, Linus, that we seem to be missing one particular driver that we always have every single week. Can you tell who that is?
I had his name. I was going to say him earlier. It's Tim Adcock, the other Adcock, Stuart Adcock.
Oh, yeah, Stuart Adcock. We're missing Tom Ward, and we're missing El Capitan himself.
That's right.
We are indeed. But
we have a little bit of an incident behind him. That's 2 cars going in the wall. That's Keith. That's Daniel J. Cook and Mark Turner. Coming down the hill, they've got Keith Sharp in front of him, just getting sideways from a little tap from Mark Turner, and then
it was less of a little tap, Linus. He actually dumped the car ahead of him, Keith Sharp, and unfortunately wrecked the pair of them. So that's not great racing from those two. But getting back to the live action up at the front, Daniels leading over Edwards, but the gap is very, very close between those two. Next place now is Vaughan Roberts after that little cluster down at Moss Corner. Nicholas Vaughan Roberts with Ewan Patterson there in 4th and 5th. Those guys taking huge advantage of this disaster. Big moves from Plumley. He's now up 13 places into 13th place of all things.
And Keith Sharp just crashed himself out coming down to the corner of the end of the long straightaway.
I think Sharp had damage because...
yeah, he did. He lost it very weirdly. He must have had some suspension damage there.
Absolutely, so Keith Sharp had damage.
As well.
Keith Sharp had damage from that contact from behind, possibly suspension damage there on the car. Is up front now. Antonides gap 5.5 seconds. Daniels, Edwards 2nd and 3rd. Vaughan Roberts and Patterson next pair of cars. They're actually losing time now consistently. Stefan Nobes on his own back in 6th place. Anthony Catt running with Matt Cox. Robert Plumley up into 9th now. Wow, he's migrated up the field a little bit. James McRitchie in P10 is your field at the moment. Bill Fraser has a new car. He's back out again. And he's still in 12th place. So Bill Fraser making some recoveries here. That could have been all over for him, but wow, he's actually pushing this one forwards. Biggest move of the race so far, though. 45th to 15th. Up 30 positions is Stuart Dick in that number 61 machine. So massive, massive performance from him. We look at Antonides though. He's on lap 15 here, going on to the final lap of the race now, ahead of a lapped car. This has been a flawless, quiet race for Antonides as he comes across the line to start the final lap. All he has to do now is keep it together for one further lap and he'll have his second victory this season. Ben Daniels in second, holding off Simon Edwards back in third place, who's actually got lap traffic behind him at the moment, but the gap's opened up a little wider. So Edwards really has one opportunity left here, Linus, the Moss corner and the Andretti straight, to make this thing happen tonight if he wants second place out of this event.
They're coming up on some more lap traffic, so that could very well be possible here. Don't count him out just yet.
No, absolutely not. We're not counting anything out at the moment. Anything can happen here. There's quite a lot of lap traffic ahead of them, in fact. Antonides into Andretti behind a lap car, or into Moss, I should say. Out of that corner now, onto the...
Oh, and the lap car spins out! Holy, that could have been bad.
Absolutely, we'll quickly look at that one after the race, but as for now, stay with our leading group. Daniels, and here comes Edwards for an early move. Edwards to the outside, early on the Andretti straight. Should have the inside now of Ben Daniels. Is this the move when he needed it? Simon Edwards now pulling the gap still. Has the overlap. He'll have to hold it on the outside in 8, which we know you can do fairly easily. There's room to do it. Can he hold the speed? Not looking like he can. But he has an overlap still, which is just enough to do it. Antonides will come through the final corner to hold that win. Fima Antonides will win the race as wide goes Ben Daniels. Up the inside goes Simon Edwards, and he will come across the line in second place, just pipping Daniels there in the final corner, Linus. That was some intense racing from those guys. Behind them, Vaughan Roberts comes through, just ahead of Ewan Patterson in 5th place. Nobis, Cat, Cox, Plumley, and Rick Ritchie, your top 10, who... Oh, no, he's not. McRitchie spun out in the final corner. We'll have to get a quick replay of what happened to him. He's got some serious damage there on his car. Oh, I see what's happened. McRitchie there racing with the 147 machine of Robert Plumley. Plumley comes into the final corner here and just taps McRitchie out of the way with the nose cone of his machine there. Oh, my gosh. Wow. That's not so great there for McRitchie. He ends up damaged and unable to turn around with the traffic in the way. So he has to watch all these cars go past and take the positions that might well have been his in a top 10 result. Not what we want to have happen towards the very end of the race. What an intense one we just had there.
Yeah, that was some quite intense racing, ending with a few incidents and a spectacular overlap, or crossover move like we call it in NASCAR, from Simon Edwards to get that second position. That was pretty bold from him, but he managed to pull it off and it rewarded him in the end. And Bill Fraser managed to climb all the way back up to 10th.
He set it after those late incidents, of course. We'll go through your post-race results now. Fima Antonides coming home with the win tonight after a flawless race there. Finishes, well, just 2.2 ahead of Simon Edwards, but it's enough to make it count. Edwards in second, Ben Daniels in third, Vaughan Roberts in the 4th place there. Ewan Patterson in 5th with Stefan Nobes, Anthony Catt, Matt Cox, Robert Plumley and Bill Fraser recovering to 10th after second on the grid and a full-on crash. Jake Ridlington, Simon Maltby, Adrian Hendy in 13th, Stuart Dick, biggest climber there, 45th to 14th, Neil Dawkins, Clark Williams, Chris Morris, Tony Stack, John McGovern and Barry West in 20th place. And without further ado, we have a chance to talk directly to your race winner for the second time this season. Fima Antonides coming home with a flawless run here, not challenged flag to flag.
Yeah, well, it was almost flawless, Rachel. Towards the last couple of laps, I realized that I hadn't topped up in my fuel, so I was still running on qualifying fuel, which meant that I potentially didn't have enough fuel to finish the race. It was so marginal, and so I had to slow right down the last couple of laps and eventually use lap traffic to draft me over the line. I literally had to tell the guy in front of me who was a lap down to carry on moving, don't get out the way, so that I could so he could tow me up the straight. And as I crossed the start-finish line, just before it started to sputter. So it's a good thing I let the guy tow me over, because Ben Daniels was just, I think, less than 3 seconds behind me. I think if I hadn't made that choice, it would have been, I would have lost that race. So it was really, really close.
It certainly was, of course, and well, we can now say for Humanitas as pulled Danica Patrick after, of course, her win at Motegi Oval. And now for Humanitas has started a race with less fuel than he needs to win it and has still completed the job. So congratulations to you, Fahim. Fantastic result today.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And thanks to my team, Thrustmaster Movano. They've been watching and following me and egging me on, and I think that got me over the line as well.
Well, a fantastic performance by you and your team, of course. Congratulations.
Thanks. Bye.
Up next, we're a chance to chat to Barry West with a phenomenal result tonight, up 12 places from starting in 32nd. Barry, you came home tonight in 20th. Top 20 result for you. Gotta be feeling good.
Yeah, that was a fun race. I got turned twice, which was a bit, but I mean it was so hectic. There's like 5 cars raced for the same spot of tarmac, so not to be expected. I mean it could have been a lot worse. I think I avoided major damage, but yeah. And then just having a real little close battle with Christopher Kelsey at the end, and we went round turn 2 side by side, which was not many people can do that, I don't think. And then we just came together going down to Moss. So. But he, like a gentleman, let me lift. He lifted and let me take the position. So 20th, yeah, I'm pleased with that. Could have been higher, but yeah, first race of the season, pleased.
Not bad at all. Barry, thank you very much for joining us tonight. 20th result there for you today. So a good top 20 finish. Thanks for joining.
Thanks. Cheers.
Well, Linus, that was a fairly hectic race for us, of course. I do apologise to viewers because I was actually kicked out of the session at the start of the race, right before the flag, and it ended up with it being a bit of a hectic one. So big props to Linus there for leading off the whole start of the race. Thanks for joining us, folks. We've been here same time as we will be next week. I said that backwards because normally it's like we'll be back same time next week, where you join us for round number 3. Linus Brostrom, Rachel Whiteford, and of course the one, the only Will Vincent behind the cameras leading the way. Don't forget to check out our description, check out CALM, the Campaign Against Living Miserably. They're a phenomenal charity. So thanks for joining us, folks. We'll see you next time. Bye.